again, welcome, and register for the drawings. We do have new hats. I don't know if you saw them on your way in. We have Trump 2024, and we also have 2A. Janet, can you hold those up? In a variety of colors.
I want to think of Vanna White.
That's right. So we have Vanna White, that's right. So we have the hats. They are $20 for a donation of $20. The hats, we have a few T-shirts left over, and we are keeping them the same price of $15 donation for the T-shirts. We ought to probably double the price because now they're a collector's item. So, but we do have a few left over, and we have the new hats. Let's see. We are planning our annual dinner, so watch for those details. And I want to make sure, and first welcome, I think we have some elected officials in the room. We have some county commissioners. You want to raise your hand, say, Vince, and Craig was just here, but Craig, okay, there he is. And do we have any other elected Marshall County officials? We do have, yes, trustee. Well, welcome to everyone tonight. I want to make sure and always recognize our elected politicians who come to visit with us. Oh, and Sheriff Lamb, of course, is here, and he'll be one of our guest speakers. Excuse me, sir. Before we get started too much farther, let's go ahead, and Scotty, our chaplain, will lead us. Oh, yes, and Lynn Davis is here. She represents Scott Desjardins, Congressman Desjardins, and is our Tennessee SEC member. Lynn, we're happy to have you here, and she's going to actually speak to us briefly in just a few minutes. So we're excited to have her. Thank you, Scotty, for making sure I don't forget. I appreciate you. Would you like to lead us in prayer, Scott?
I'll do it from here out loud. Please bow your head. Dear Lord, Father in heaven, we just come to you tonight, Lord, and just ask you to bless each and every person in here, Lord. Lord, give us wisdom, give us knowledge. Lord, give us obedience. Lord, each person in here is taking a different road or path to get here, Lord, but we all have the same destination, and that's you in heaven, Lord. Lord, just place a watch over us and protect us and bless our country. In Jesus Christ's name, amen.
Thank you, Scotty. You all stand with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Beverly Ditton, our secretary, if you could read the minutes, please.
Minutes from the April meeting. Julie called the meeting to order. Minutes from the March meeting were read. The guest speakers were Rawson Adams, 10-year-old that received a letter from President Trump, Cheryl Brown, the Williamson County Republican chair, Gary Humbles from Tennessee Stands. Representative Todd Warner gave an update on the happenings at the state capitol. Door prizes were awarded to David Trinkle and Walter Redding, which was a signed copy of Sean Spicer's book. Julie Quine spoke on upcoming speakers and events, and Julie also announced the new members of the election board, which was Janet Heppel, the chairman, Charlie Evans, and David Trinkle. And Julie adjourned the meeting at 7:45.
Thank you very much. The minutes have been read to you. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes as read? If there are no corrections or additions, do we have a motion to accept and approve the minutes? Thank you. Seconded? Peter. Sorry. And do we have a second? Thank you. Are there any objections? All right, the minutes are approved. Mr. Cantwell, can you give us an update of where we stand?
The Treasury report as of the end of last month by the bank statement was $15,003.77.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. An update, Mr. Craig Blackwell, did he step out? All right, so our vice chair, Mr. Craig Blackwell, is also the chair of our scholarship committee, and he was leaving, and I think he left to go award to recognize one of the seniors. So we have two seniors being recognized tonight. We had our three winners, one from each high school district, and they're being recognized, and then we will have them speak in our June meeting. The one winner was recognized last week, and 2 are having their senior night tonight. We're excited to finally get to publicly recognize them and look forward to hearing them read their winning essays to us during our meeting on June 15. That night, we will also have Mrs. Bryan of the 917 Society, which is a nonprofit organization that focuses on ensuring our young people learn about our U.S. Constitution. Representative Todd Warner and Senator Shane Reeves will also join us June 15 to congratulate our scholarship recipients and give us an update on the legislative session that just ended. And we also just had a Tennessee SEC meeting. The SEC, for those who were here when Lynn Davis and Jim Sandman spoke, is our state executive committee. And Ms. Lynn Davis, she just attended a meeting about a week and a half ago, and she's going to update us on a few things that happened during that meeting. Will you join me in welcoming Ms. Lynn Davis?
And I really wasn't planning on saying anything much, but I'll say hi to everybody. Thank you for always having me and making me feel so welcome. We did have our SEC meeting last weekend. Actually, it's a couple weekends now, wasn't it?
Week and a half.
And it was quite a meeting. It was a good meeting. A lot of things happening. I guess the most important thing is our very next meeting, which will be probably in August. Lots of things are gonna kind of go through some committees there. Something that you all might be aware of and kind of give us feedback. I'll just tell you I'm not for this, but they are talking about, I guess, requiring that you pay a fee in order to run as a Republican in elections. And I kind of feel that it probably might pass, but I am not for that. I won't be voting that way. And so you can see me and give me your opinion on that. Let's see, what else did we talk about, Julia? I hadn't planned on getting up
That's
here.
right.
So,
Well, there's the new committee that I was excited about. We have a brand new committee in our SEC.
Yes, and it's actually just going to focus on election integrity. I'm actually on that meeting. They moved me from political to that meeting, so not real sure what that meeting looks like yet. We will find out more about it in our next meeting in August.
Well, thank you, Lynn.
So,
and thank you for all that you do with your double. You wear 2 hats for Congressman Desjardins, and so I know you want to say hello for him to our meeting, and then
I do, and let me correct that. I actually am the field representative for Congressman Desjardins for Bedford County and Rutherford County.
Oh, that's right, Becky.
Yes.
I always get that confused. Becky Moon is our representative,
Yes.
and I talk to her all the time, but I see Lynn here as our SEC member, and so I apologize and thank you for correcting me.
That's right.
So Lynn Davis, if you have feedback on, you want to speak with her about the proposal before our SEC, the State Executive Committee, to charge in order to run as a Republican. It would be staggered fees. The higher the office, the higher the charge. And they laid out reasons for it, and there are 4 reasons against it. So if she's asking you if you would like to give feedback, she is not for it, and if you would like to give feedback to her, pro or con, so that she can take that back to the State Executive Committee. And as she was saying, I'm excited about having an election integrity committee on our SEC that's totally focused on that. And of course, we all think, well, we wish we had had it sooner, but sometimes it's always like, I guess I've never been in the military, but you hear that people are always planning for the last war. Well, now we know we need that, so we'll have that going forward and watch our elections that much closer. So, and I believe they said they were going to work closely with the legislative and help make reforms and so forth. So that's exciting news. One of the accomplishments of the legislature this past season were some new laws concerning the Second Amendment. Here tonight to tell us more about how these laws will affect us here in Marshall County is our very own Sheriff Lamb. Sir, thank you for being here this evening, and we look forward to learning more. Please help me welcome Sheriff Lamb.
Judy, I don't think I'll need this microphone.
Well, that's up
I'll
to
leave
you, sir,
that.
whatever you're comfortable with. Some of our members...
Thank you. I want to thank you and the Marshall County Republican Party for asking me to come out tonight. I had a... You can't hear back there? Okay, well, I'll use this then.
There we go.
But as I come in, sweet lady here, she gave me, she had received, she wanted me to pass this on to y'all. She'd received a an addressed envelope from the Sheriff's Association in Texas, and she was asking me, wanting donations. And I told her, you know, it's up. She wanted me to let y'all know if y'all get it. I don't know where your money will be going there, but if the Tennessee Sheriff's Association sends you something, it will be staying here in the state of Tennessee for scholarships and legislative bills and that sort of stuff if they use that money for here in Tennessee. Julian, I spoke with Julian. She wanted me to address the position of the Tennessee Sheriff's Association about the Second Amendment and constitutional carry bill. Well, I checked around, made a few phone calls, see exactly what was going on, and the board, of course, the board of directors and the legislative committee of the sheriffs, TBI, chiefs of police, they did oppose certain parts of this bill. And I can't speak for those people or the Sheriff's Association or the chiefs or whatnot, but I do agree on training and education aspects of that, which were concerns and components of the bill. While there's 95 sheriffs in the state of Tennessee, I can almost surely say that there are several different opinions and suggestions and comments and their positions on these issues. I've talked to a few locals, but I don't know what all theirs would be. But addressing, say, the training and some examples, I'm going to tell this, but I know I wasn't the only one. 39 years ago, when I started at the Sheriff's Department, they told me I had to go purchase me a gun. So I did. I went and got this nice looking revolver, and I was standing looking at it. I've been a hunter all my life, long guns. If it had fur or feathers, I was after it. Never dealt with pistols. So I was standing there and I was looking at this pistol, you know, and the guy come over and he said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well, where's the safety at?" Now, here I am, 22-year-old, and been hunting and around long guns. I've never dealt with revolvers, so I'm sure there's people out there that was like me. A few years later, I was a firearms training officer at the Sheriff's Department, so I did learn. But that's the sort of things. But I think the training and education, even as liability. You know, if you don't do anything but look into the liability of toting the weapons. And it wasn't long after that I learned about the pistol. I was on a call and there was a family dispute over a car. The daddy went to take the car from the kid, and when I got there, the mom come out, and son was upset because dad's come to get the car. Well, grandmother runs out and hollers he's got a gun. Well, the mother faints at my feet, and I see the boy coming around a 15, 16-year-old kid with a single-shot shotgun. It just so happened I was raised up on a single-shot shotgun and noticed the hammer on the gun wasn't cocked. So he followed his daddy the whole way till his daddy left with that gun. So what I'm saying is I think we're going to carry, we need to know different type weapons and study and learn all about them. So, you know, and I think about that a lot to this day, 39 years later, what could have been. But, you know, we've had filing cabinets shot with double-aught buck, load roof, 10 off-roof buildings at the firing range. Deputy drop a gun coming to work, hits just right on a flag stand, shoots yourself in the foot. So, you know, we have quite a bit of training, and but that's just my opinion on that. That's just a few things. And I would like to say, when I ran for office in 2014 and 18, I had numerous people that asked me my stance on the Second Amendment, and I believe everybody should be able to lawfully bear arms to protect themselves, family, property, and that's the way I'll always be. And I was also asked, matter of fact, I was called to Mooresville when I got down there, and the house was full of people. They wanted to know if I was coming to get their guns. And everybody I talked to, as long as I'm sheriff of Marsh County, I'm not going to come. If you possess guns lawfully, Marsh County Sheriff's Office will not be there to come take your guns. And we get into these this new constitutional carry, and I guess it remains to be seen. I feel like probably next year there'll probably be some things added to this. This doesn't cover long guns. This bill doesn't. So, but I guess as you know, most of you probably know the law better than I do. It is complicated because they put deletions and added stuff to it, and you have to go in there and look the statute up. There's one statute here that's got 15 pages in it. I don't have time to do that. So we'll probably have training to get better acquainted with it. And I know it's confusing to me. I'm sure it's confusing to a lot of people. But you can carry openly or concealed handgun under this bill. 21 years of age, or at least 18 years of age, and been honorably discharged from military service, or is on active duty and completed basic training. And you got to lawfully possess the handgun, and you have to be in a place where the person is lawfully able to be present. And it also created a Class B misdemeanor offense for anybody that has been convicted of stalking, been convicted of DUI 2 or more times within the prior 10 years or 1 time within the prior 5 years, and has been adjudicated as mental defective, judicially committed, or to a hospital or mental institution, or had a court-appointed conservator for any reason of a mental defect. Like I say, I don't. That last one especially, I don't know how law enforcement is going. We know we average about 15 citizens here in Marshall County a month carrying to a mental facility. And it seems like the first of the year, we're averaging a couple young adults anywhere. I'll say young adults, but 12, 15-year-old. So we're seeing more of that. But I don't know how we're going. You know, if we catch them with a gun, how we're going to know that they have mental issues to enforce this law, unless it's something out there that I'm not aware of, and it very well could be. But with HIPAA laws and that's something that's probably going to have to be looked into. And it may have already been. I don't know. But there's going to have to be some kind of database. I mean, we know who a lot of them are here because we deal with them. But if they come in from other counties, we have no idea. So there needs to be some type of database, I think, for that. And if not, it probably will be. Like I say, probably be some new laws, some more things added to this next year. That's about all I got. I do have castle doctrine. Has anybody ever heard of castle doctrine?
Yep.
Are you familiar with it?
Your cars are castle.
We're familiar with it, but please read that because it's a little different than stand your ground. I guess some of you have heard stand your ground. So those two things you need to, if you're carrying, you need to read them because they are different. I don't know if anybody got any questions or on anything. I'll try to answer it. Like I say, this is confusing. And this paper here is about all I received on it. I'll be happy when we get our new TCA code books that has it all written down in there like it should be. And we don't have to try to piece it together.
They write the laws so that only the lawyers can read them, and we do need interpreters, don't we? So I appreciate you coming tonight, Sheriff Lamb, and it is a responsibility, and I'm sure we all take it seriously when we carry and when we protect our homes. And sir, you have my notes, and I'll just stand up here and sir, Mr. Sheriff Lamb, you have my notes. You got my notes. Okay, so if you all have been here often enough, you know I depend on my notes. That's a dirty trick.
You won't invite me back.
Oh, goodness. Okay, so I have my notes. I know what to do next. Otherwise, I would have gotten stuck. Well, thank you, Sheriff Lamb. We do appreciate you. All right. Well, the Maury County Republicans are well represented here tonight, as we have two of their party officers as our special guest speakers. Over the last several years, I've visited Maury County GOP meetings, taken notes, met their speakers, and then I invite their speakers to come over here to speak, and then and I learn from them. And every party member has always been welcoming and generous with their time. So I think very well of the Maury County Party, and I appreciate them. First, speaking to us tonight is Maury County Republicans' newly elected Vice Chair. She is a fireball, passionate on the issues and conservative solutions to those issues. I look forward to her sharing with us what Maury County GOP is doing and what she has on her mind tonight. Please join me in welcoming Debbie Matthews. Thank you.
You all have probably the best county chair. I'm telling you, this girl, she is amazing. And she's always at our meetings. And we have some pretty contentious meetings because we the people, right? We the people are pissed, frankly. And we have a reason to be. You know, there was a beautiful meeting right before the election when we were all wondering what was going to happen. And I spoke at our party dinner, and I'm a realtor, and there's some things I want to talk about but my main job over the last few years is taking care of my husband, who's a pro country music songwriter. And when I was on the city council in Columbia, I would give wedding speeches and funerals, and there was a writer. The man wrote the dance. How many of you all know the dance? There's a man named Tony Arata, and he wrote this wonderful song that has a line in it, don't look into the darkness if you want to see true black. Look into a morning's brightness when a loved one's not coming back. And right there you'll find a darkness that blinds. And I always use that at a funeral. It just tears me up when I read it and think about it. But before the election, I used that line to say, don't look into the darkness if you want to see true black. Look into a morning's brightness when liberty and justice, freedom of speech, or your gun rights aren't coming back. And right there you'll see a brightness that blinds, right? And after the election, I thought about that. And it almost brings me to tears because if you're like me, nothing is going to be settled till we figure out November the 3rd. We are in trouble. Until we figure that out, to me, nothing can really go forward. And every day, I'm not watching the news, I'm turning off the stations, I'm boycotting Coke and all that stuff, but I feel as if I've been kicked in the solar plexus because I don't know exactly what to do. So I come back to we the people. We the people. Especially we in the middle. We don't have representation in Washington. The corporations, welfare state, they get bailed out. The half bottom of the country don't pay taxes. We don't have anybody speaking on our behalf, right? So we the people have been stepped on. And we the people have been ignored. We've been diminished. We the people have been shoved to the side. And we felt like when President Trump was in there, we were at least getting a voice. Finally, right? And thank God for that. But at the end of the day, it's not President Trump. It's we the people. And I am so thankful that I'm seeing people like this in my neighboring county that I can rely on, that we're the same tribe and we're thinking the same thing, because at the end of the day, we the people are all that matters. It's we the people, period, right? And we the people have a constitution. And we the people have to push back. And it is the hour of action. And it's falling on we the people. So I'm so glad to be here with you all tonight. Sincerely, my heart is here. It's beating in conjunction with you and your worries. And we have a lot to do. I am a realtor, and I represent a lot in Murray County, Marshall County, and it's crazy right now. I feel like I've been shot out of a cannon. It is so busy, right? But one thing that I'm seeing is big migration domestically. It's almost like a culling of people are coming like-minded from their areas and fleeing to other like-minded areas. And my husband tells me every morning, tell your California clients not to California my Tennessee. He tells me that every day, okay? But my California clients, guys, we've got people in California that are living in tyranny, really. They really are. I have a client who teaches at UCLA, not teaches, he works at UCLA. He's trying his best to retire in 2 years and get here, because right now in his small community, they're allowing illegals to vote and to run for public office. Certain guns that he currently owns, they're outlawing, so now he's a felon for those. They have those jungle ballots. So here we have Republican primaries and Democratic primaries, right? In California, they do have Republican primaries and they have Democratic primaries, but at the end of the day, whoever the top two gets the votes, they run in the general. So there's not a Republican and a Democrat running against each other. It's normally two Democrats. So that is how the state house in California has gotten so out of sorts. I mean, they're trying to pass in California right now that if you exit the state of California, that you have to pay an exit tax for the next 10 years. 10 years. Now wait, there are other states that have enacted that. I don't see how that's going to fly. That's unconstitutional. That is un-American. So when you have people come into your area from California, it is great guts to leave there, okay? I had a gentleman yesterday, got his motorcycle tags, was $3,800 in California to tag his motorcycle. Here it was $38. He said, I love Tennessee. This is a whole different thing. So be good to your California folks. Know they're coming here because they need to get out of here. They can't even fight their way out. They don't have their handguns or whatever if they had to. So anyway, but I do want to talk really quickly about illegal immigration. So in 120 days, we the people have seen a drastic change, right, from where Trump left us and what's going on. And I would say maybe 6 weeks ago, this number is not the right number, but I was sitting watching the morning news and it said 15,000 unaccompanied minors at the border. 15,000. So I stopped and put it on pause, and then I Googled, how many children does Murray County have in its school system? We have 13,000 kids in the Murray County school system. So the kids at the border are more than the Murray County kids. Now our budget is $131 million for the Murray County school system. We have 900 teachers with 500 assistants. I mean, the infrastructure to care for the kids at the border's education alone outpaces the whole county of Murray County. That nobody's talking about. This past month, the illegal immigration was 150,000 people at the border. Came through in 1 month. Now, I can't for sure say what that would be in Lewisburg terms, but for the city of Columbia, that is 5 cities of Columbia in 1 month coming into the country. 5, I mean, our budget for Murray County was like $70 million a year. We are not talking about this. And it goes back to we the people. What I don't understand is every Democratic friend I know says we need more kids, less kids in each classroom and more teachers. But yet, they're letting everybody flow across the border where we don't have enough teachers or enough classrooms. It's just crazy. So, we the people have to push back. We the people, the voice, it's time to stand up and say, no, we need accountability in Washington. We can't, Washington may be gone, So we have to focus on Marshall County and Murray County and our state, okay? So I'm fighting the good fight in Murray County. I know y'all are fighting the good fight in Marshall. And one thing that we're really fighting it with is our county mayor. And I can't wait for you to get to hear him speak tonight. This is Andy Ogles. He's going to be speaking next. Julie's going to introduce him. But as a realtor, I have these high dollar clients that come. And what I'm finding out is a lot of them are from Williamson County. And I'll take them to a multi-million-dollar piece of property, and I'll be like, why do you want to move to Murray County? And they were like, because of your mayor, Andy Ogles. And they are like, we are tired of the mask mandate. We are tired of the socialist practices of Williamson County, and we're getting out. This mayor has done so much for Murray County, and I'm so proud to serve under him in the Murray County Republican Party, and I'm glad you're getting to meet him tonight. They do talk about how handsome he is, too, and he's pretty handsome. All the women comment on that. But we're lucky to have him because he is the only thing that has stood between us and losing a lot of our freedom. Murray County is financially better off because he kept us without a mask mandate. Everybody came and shopped in Murray County. So thank you, Andy Ogles. Get on up here. Julie Kwan's going to do a great introduction. And I love you all. God bless. Remember, courage is contagious. So talk on Facebook, talk to your friends. Do not apologize for being a Trump supporter, okay? Because he's going to run in 2024. They're not going to be able to load those ballots in the middle of the night. They aren't. So keep the faith.
Thank you, Debbie. Now, I said she was a fireball, and she lived up to my introduction. So, and did you notice that she just speaks, there was no notes. She speaks from her heart, and she does such a great job. And I go right by my notes. My son has been taking speech and debate, and he's been coming home and giving me tips. He's like, Mom, this is what you can do. I'm like, thank you. And it's helping. So that's awesome. So I love learning from my son. And Debbie, you are just awesome. You're an inspiration. And yes, you already did a great job of introducing Mayor Andy Ogles, who is, let me find my place in my notes, and he is also the newly elected county Republican chairman. So yes, he is the Republican mayor of Murray County, and he's taken on yet another hat. Mayor, we enjoyed it when you came to speak to us last year during our Trump parade and rally in September. I think you will not only be sharing with us what's happening in Mercer County GOP, but you've got your own exciting events. Speaking of our rally last year, I'm sure you're going to be talking about that tonight, and we look forward to hearing all about it. Please welcome Murray County Mayor Andy Ogles.
All right. Well, you know, it's a good evening. I want to just take a moment and thank the sheriff. It's a hard time to be in law enforcement. They've been under attack, and so let's take a moment and just give a round of applause to the sheriff. You know, before I get going, you know, I always like to know the audience. So how many Trump supporters do we have here? Is this a Biden rally? How many Trump supporters do we have here? How many people think the election was stolen? And how many people think that the state of Tennessee should have led the charge in defending our president? Because, you know, there was a lawsuit that Texas filed, and we weren't first, we weren't second, we weren't third, we were 16th. I think it was 16th, 17th. We were to the point that it didn't matter at that point. It was being adjudicated. And so I think that's where we can start, is what I'm about to say may be startling. Because, you know, you've all said you think that the election was stolen. By the way, I wish Trump was still our president. I do.
Yes.
However, you know, they talk about being woke. I think it's time for us to get woke. And I think we're better off for a temporary moment that he lost because it woke us up. They're trying to steal our country. Yes or no? Yes. And so this is where the rubber meets the road. Like it's been said, we the people. And so when you look backwards to COVID, and you look at the governors across the country, who, by the way, I think most of them were well-intentioned, right? But what we've seen over this last year is state constitutions and state laws be trampled. And that's true here in the state of Tennessee. And so when the edict was given that I had the authority to issue a mask mandate from the governor, I said no. I think technically I said hell no, but I said no. and you know, I've been called bold and courageous because I made that I did that. And you know, just to get into the numbers, you know, during a lot of the press conferences you would hear, you know, 64% of Tennesseans are under a mask mandate. Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, Chattanooga. 95 counties in the state of Tennessee. When the governor offered county mayors the authority to do so, I immediately stood up and said no. 2/3 of the county mayors in the state followed my lead and not the governor, and so only 23 issued a mask mandate. So most of your county mayors in the state of Tennessee got it. That we don't have the authority. So I've got notes too, because I want to make sure I read it right? And so what am I talking about? Why is this so important? One, I'm a nerd, and our Constitution's important. His job, his ability, your sheriff, to do his job is based off of our state constitution and state laws. And his ability to prosecute in court is based off of the sanctity of these laws, that they're applied evenly. So that's the basis of what you've got to understand. So we look at the state constitution. Article 7, Section 1. Now this is talking about subdivisions of the state. Your counties are your legal subdivisions. And so when it talks about the constitutional subdivisions, it's specifically referring to me as a county mayor. Their qualifications and duties shall be prescribed by the General Assembly. Period. There's no comma. There's no semicolon. There's no exception for a state of emergency. The only people that can give me authority is the General Assembly, not the governor. That's important because they are the legislative body. So people will say, Andy, why didn't you issue a mask mandate? We got seatbelt laws, and I can't smoke in front of a restaurant, and I can't do this, I can't drink and drive. Those are all laws that were passed by your state house and your state senate. They weren't passed by a governor, and they weren't passed by a county mayor. So now, the state statute 58-2-107, that's the Emergency Powers Act. And in it, it's clear. Any executive orders, proclamations, rules have the force and effect of the law. That's referring to the governor. So in a state of emergency, the governor becomes, quite frankly, just short of being a king. But when you look at this, and it tells you his authority, there's some buts, and there's some restrictions. So he can do it. However, there are certain circumstances where he can't. And it's lettered A through N. And again, this is important, because if any one of these are violated, then they're all subject to be violated, right? So under H, again, it's talking about your constitutional subdivisions. So you're talking about your county mayors, your political subdivisions. The governor can give me a new authority. Very specifically, it says, prior to an emergency or threat of an emergency. Why do you think that is? It's so that the General Assembly, if he oversteps his bounds, can step in and say, Governor, you went too far. So in Kentucky, the governor went too far in asserting control during COVID. Their attorney general actually did his job, ours hasn't, and stood up and said, Governor, you've gone too far, you can't do that. So how would this be applicable? Anybody been paying attention to the bridge that's got a crack in it in Memphis? Kind of a big deal, right? So let's say hypothetically, there's some activity along the New Madrid earthquake, that fault zone, right? And they're expecting an earthquake. The governor, prior to that emergency, could say, you know what? There's 20 counties over there that you could see catastrophic damage. I'm going to give you extreme authorities if you have to declare a state of emergency, because we may not be able to get to you right away, right? That's prior to. Now, if he goes too far in giving them too much authority, your General Assembly can immediately step in and call a special session and say, Governor, you can't do that. That's not constitutional. The other thing that's important is by issuing a mask mandate, If you violated it, did you realize that's up to a year in jail? There's nothing in the state constitution, and there's no provision in state law that gives the county a mayor to send you to jail. Period. So during COVID, under a state of emergency, our governor has been violating state law, and our attorney general has done nothing about it. They don't like it when I speak, but their problem is that it's in black and white. And so people have said, well, why didn't you do it? He said, because I can read. I took the time to read the state constitution, and I took time to read and understand the emergency powers law. And we are in direct violation of it. And so again, why does that matter? It's just a mask, right? Just a mask. When Clinton was impeached, they went back 100 years to figure out how to do it. We've now set a precedent in the state of Tennessee that a governor in the future, during a state of emergency, can ignore parts of state law. Why is that important, you think? Well, under 58-2-107, where it says H and it limits when he can give me a new authority, M, the very last provision, the very last thing that they wrote, the very last thing that your state House and your state Senate members wanted to be clear that a governor did not have the authority to do is he does not have the right to violate your right to bear arms, nor does he have a right to violate your right to carry ammunition. So 20 years from now, 40 years from now, or maybe 50 years from now, you could have a knucklehead governor during a state of emergency that says, you know what, you can no longer carry a gun. And it's a state of emergency. The law says it's clear, I'm in control. That's a precedent that's been set in the state of Tennessee, and we have to fix it. Right. And that begins here. Because it was a little old county mayor from a little old rural county that stood up and said no. Sheriffs across the state stood with their county mayors and said, I'm not going to enforce it, and I'm not going to send people to jail. Our district attorney said, I'm not going to do it. If anybody brings someone to jail, we're not going to prosecute them. So it was your lower elected officials, the power of the lesser magistrate, that stood in the gap to protect your liberty. And our governor was well-intentioned. And I texted him, and I told him, I literally told him, your advisors have failed you. And he disagreed with me. So I did what I do typically. I hold a press conference and just speak what I have on my mind. Right? And so your school board, when you think about critical race theory, it's this room who is your elected school board members going forward. Your aldermen, your county commissioners. For example, in Murray County, this election before, we had a school board member retire up in Spring Hill, of all places. So busy, lots of people. Retired. Nobody pulled a ballot. So we literally have no one running for school board. So the incumbent ran for school board as a write-in. So we get so busy and so caught up on, hey, look, I'm all about supporting, being engaged in the presidential race, and I'm all about, we've got 2 congressmen in Murray County supporting Mark Green and Desjardins. But I can't do that and forsake who's running for county mayor, who's running for sheriff, and who's running for the county commission and those kinds of things. Because what we've seen during COVID is it really does matter. And I know I'm preaching to the choir because what day of the week is this? I've been speaking about every night here lately, so it's like I can't keep up. The one mistake I did make, by the way, is tonight is my son's birthday. I do not get Father of the Year award, let me tell you. He's turning 6 tonight, but I'll get back home to him. But, Julie was like, we were trying to set a date, and we couldn't figure it out, and we have Mule Fest coming up, so it was perfect. It's right before Mule Fest, and we'll talk about that in a second. I was like, yes, I'll plug Mule Fest to our friends and neighbors in Marshall County. And boy, did I just forget it was my son's birthday. So, I can cite state law really well. My kids' birthdays, apparently, I can't remember. But anyway. Well, we do have, I'll transition for a moment. And really what I want to do is just take questions. I can ramble on about, the fact that Governor from Florida, DeSantis, when he passed a vaccine bill that protects and prevents a vaccine passport, he actually did it. Here in Tennessee, they'll campaign and tell you they did it, but they didn't. All right, how many people are aware of that? So you're going to see this going forward. But any business can still mandate that you have the vaccine. It's an experimental vaccine. And look, I'm not pro-vaccine. I'm not anti-vaccine. You all are grown people. You put on your shoes. You didn't need my help. You don't need me to tell you how to manage your health care. All right? I'm not going to get it. That's my business. Ma'am, if you want it, sir, if you want it, let me know and help you sign up, right? But I'm not going to be an advocate for it. You know, so they actually got it done, right? When you look at transgender sports, Florida, again, I tweeted to the governor. I said, you know, when in doubt, just do what Rick DeSantis would do. If you have any questions. You get up in the morning, and whatever you think you should do, I'm guessing you should probably do the opposite. But when in doubt, check and just see what Rick DeSantis did last week. But again, transgender sports. Okay, in high school, you can't do that in Tennessee anymore. But we were too chicken to take on NCAA and the University of Tennessee, which has gone off the rails woke, right? In Florida, they said if any college allows a male to compete as a female, you lose state funding. Again, what would Rick DeSantis do? They're getting it done. But Mule Fest. Is anybody heard of Mule Fest coming up Memorial Day weekend? All right. So Trace Atkins, you know, this was kind of a funny thing. He was looking to open a business in Murray County. Still working on that. A lot of things, due diligence to do there. But we kind of hit it off, and you know, I had this idea for a music festival, and so I just, you know, it never hurts to ask, right? And he said, absolutely. In fact, you know, I appreciate the stands you've taken, and he and his wife, unbeknownst to me, had started coming to Murray County instead of Williamson County, where he lives, for dinner in the evenings because he could just be normal, didn't have to wear a mask. And so I asked him, and he agreed to it. And so a few days later, we hadn't announced it yet. And my phone rings, and it's Trace. It's about 4:15 on Friday. And I'm like, oh, crap, he's going to cancel. I'm glad I didn't announce it. But, you know, looking at my phone, the kids are bouncing off the walls. I'm thinking, I've got to answer the call. And so I pick up the phone, and he's got this real deep voice, you know, and he said, I've been working on the farm all week, and man, it started raining today. Thank God. My wife's been working me hard. He said, I'm hungry. I have no idea where this conversation is going at this point. and he goes, you want some catfish? I said, well, yeah, I like catfish. He said, would you want to go get some catfish with me? And I said, well, sure. Of course, I was waiting to totally be dejected that the concert was canceled. And he said, would it be all right if my wife comes because she wants to meet you? But would your wife come too? And I said, well, let me, you know, when I get home, you know, it's kind of like the governor stripped me of all authority. I have no authority once I get home. I know who rules the roost, right? So out there or here, I might have authority. Get back, you know. But so I said, well, let me clear it with the boss, and is it all right if I call you back? So anyway, we went to Doodads. We had catfish. We hung out all night. Let me tell you, he's the nicest guy you will ever meet. He's 6'5", cowboy boots and a cowboy hat, so you can't miss him. And I'm reasonably tall, and he's like, you know, dwarfs me. But so Friday night, we have a free concert downtown Columbia. We've got over 200 vendors, food trucks, crafts. For the first time ever, we convinced the city, the sheriff, don't listen to this one, you can get a wristband, and then we have, we have 2 stages. We have 3 stages, but you can go between the different stage areas, so you have an open container in downtown Columbia. We've never done that before. Of course, we'll be doing ID checks and all the right things, right? So it's going to be a great event. So we have 2 stages, and then once the main stage goes live, we're going to do Memorial Day. Just if you didn't know, you have Armed Services Day, you have Veterans Day, and then you have Memorial Day. Memorial is to honor those who have died in service to the country, and there's a difference. So we're going to do a service there to honor all of those who died for the freedoms that we often take for granted, right? And then Trace will kick it off, and it all started with, you know, if you go backwards to the peak of the summer COVID spike, and county fairs are canceling all across the country, and I just refused to cancel. And so we had our county fair. It was probably the biggest in the Southeast, one of the few that happened. And of course, the Tennessean, back in the back, they threw me under the bus. And then finally, the Tennessee Department of Health, who I had, you know, I've been critical of, came to my defense and said the Murray County Fair was not a spread event. And so we were able to demonstrate with a group of 30,000 people that you could have an outdoor event and you could do it safely and you can social distance and you can wash your hands, you can use hand sanitizer, and we don't have to hide under our desks, right? And then a few weeks later, we had the 9/11 concert. You know, again, I tend to speak before I check myself, and you know, New York had canceled their 9/11 event, and I'm like, well, screw New York, we'll do one here. The problem is, I said that, and so I find myself on the phone, and I get a hold of Daryl Worley, and remember when, and he had some hits, and we put together a concert on the square. But again, we had an outdoor event at the peak of summer COVID, but we encourage people, look, if you're high risk, I get it, stay home. All right, if you come, social distance. If you want, go stand in the corner, take a bath, hand sanitizer. We got plenty of it, right? But we can do it safely. And so now you fast forward, Mule Day was canceled. I tried to convince them to have faith. You know, you have 2 vaccines, you have a 3rd one coming online. The numbers are going to collapse. Just stay the course. They made their decision. That's on them. And I look forward to working with them next year to make it bigger and better than it's ever been. But we move forward with Mule Fest. It's an annual event going forward. It's a music festival. We got over 24 bands, hundreds of vendors. It's Friday and Saturday. Saturday morning we have a parade. Trace Atkins is going to be our Grand Marshal. So you'll be able to come, you'll be able to see and meet Trace, and let me tell you, he's just a good old guy. So I'll stop there because I'll end up having to do another concert. I'll say something. Have to do another public event and just answer questions.
What's the date?
Okay, it's Memorial Day weekend. Great question. So that's Friday, May 28th, going into Saturday the 29th. And so Saturday, the parade's that morning. For those who want to be in the parade, we probably have a couple of more spots available, not many. You have to be in place by 9, starting at 9 and in place by 10:15. The parade is at 11. And then we have music all day on the square in Columbia, and we have vendors and food trucks and all the other stuff that's going to be around as well. And so again, it's a 2-day event, music festival, a lot of great acts, and of course, Trace Atkins is Friday evening, and I expect to see you all there, right? So can I take questions?
Yes, absolutely. And so to be in the parade, it's not just for floats. People can decorate up their cars, their trucks, like on our poster.
Right. So
from our parade last year.
Again, this kind of all started because by George, we're going to have a parade. It was just me and my kids on a tractor, and it's grown from there. And so if you have a tractor, or if you have a RZR, or you have an ATV, or you have horses, or a buggy, or whatever, come, be patriotic. We have some float. We have people pulling a flatbed, and they're playing music. It's going to be just a great kind of eclectic mix. Really going back to the old parade days, that if you look at some of the old pictures from the 1940s of Mule Day, where you'd have a little 5-piece bluegrass band walking down the street, playing music and beating on the drum. And so it's really, we've kind of gone back to our roots of what parades should be. So, questions?
Hi, my name is Andy White. As you can tell, I'm not from here.
You called my office?
Yes. So, and then I found out you were here. I'm like, I'm just going to ask him. So there's a team of doctors across the nation working together for fighting mask mandates and vaccine mandates. America Frontline Doctors. They're putting lawyers together. Actually, one of the lawyers is from California. And they have put together some documents for people to give to their employers, basically saying, I'm not going to wear the mask, you can't make me, blah, 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 but obviously you risk being fired.
Right.
So I'm wondering if you're so bold with the mask, if maybe your county is able to investigate that with that team, and maybe it's illegal for them to be forcing the masks, so you could actually be helping constituents in your county have a choice of wearing masks in private businesses.
Yeah, so the question is can I, as county mayor, intervene on behalf of county residents and say, no, you can't issue a vaccine mandate if you're a business?
Or a mask.
The mask mandate, I specifically, albeit illegally, was given that authority, and so I simply rejected an authority that was never granted to me by state law and the Constitution. So I simply was doing, I'm a constitutional officer, right? I have an oath that I took and that I have to uphold. And so that was, in my mind, easy, right? This is different. And this is where your General Assembly should have taken steps to protect we the people here in the state of Tennessee, but they didn't have the courage to do so, primarily because the governor fought against protecting you from businesses. So just a few weeks ago, the Ryman, about 2.5 weeks ago, had a concert. In order to attend, you had to have proof of vaccine. So not only is it your employer can do it, you can go talk to your doctor and, be a conscientious objector or whatever, get a doctor's note, but that's about the only thing you can do, or you can sue the state. That's about your only two, the recourse. There was someone in the middle. Yes, ma'am.
I have a question, but I've been following you for quite some time on Facebook.
I'm sorry.
I know your name one of the most elected officials in the state, and I just want to say you are doing an excellent job. I shop a lot of times in Murray County just because I want some normalcy, and I feel like it's very normal over there, and I give you a lot of that credit, and I love that you are so engaged with everybody on Facebook, us in Marshall County, folks in Murray County, everything that you're doing, I think you're just doing a wonderful job.
Well, thank you very much. When I started doing the daily updates, when COVID began, it was, February, March, and, most viruses like the flu virus typically die off in summer. So I'm thinking, and again, I say these things and I make commitments and then I have to stick to them. It's like, I will do a daily update as long as, there's a state of emergency or COVID numbers are high. And like 8 months later, I'm still having to do a daily update because I promised that I was going to do it. But what happened through that is, first I was really focused on Murray County because we were petrified. Everybody was, and I knew that there's going to be a lot of misinformation, a lot of information driven by fear versus fact. So even before we had our first case in Tennessee or Murray County, I started doing these periodic updates of this is what I know about COVID so far. We have a regional health department, we have a regional hospital, plus I was direct liaison with the state because of my role as county mayor. So I was just trying to give information to my county as I knew it, trying to build that trust so that when the day come, and when I had to tell people we have our first case, I would already have a relationship with the people. They already knew that I was shooting them straight. And so, and from there it went from, I'd have somebody from Marshall County say, hey, what are the numbers from Marshall County? Then, somebody Dyersburg, hey, could you tell me what's going on in Dyersburg? And so next thing you know, I'm about, a third of the counties in the state had reached out to me saying, hey, would you include our county as part of your daily update? And so, that's the power, the beautiful power of social media, is that during that crisis, I was able to reach out directly to people. And to the extent that you believe elected officials, and hey, in today's world, even I have questions, right? But it gave me that vehicle to talk to you and then to respond. Now it did get to the point because I've not been as active these last couple months, primarily because I just got burnt out. But on the average, every 28-day cycle, my little old Facebook page was reaching 300,000 unique individuals monthly. And that, you do the math there. If 1% of those people sends you an email on a regular basis, I was staying up every night, be mayor, spend some time with the family, and then from 10 to about 1 in the morning, I'm trying to answer emails and comments and questions. It really, and what drove me, so the obvious question is, why didn't you just let your staff help you? Well, I don't have an official page. Because on an official page under, it's been adjudicated in Pennsylvania and I think it's New Mexico, Arizona, and maybe even in New York, I lose my freedom of speech if I have an official page. And I won't go any further than that, but in a campaign page, I have some certain protections. And so if somebody gets on there and they're rude, vile, belligerent, I can just block them, and if they don't like it, who cares? If you can't act like an adult in a public space, you're going to be treated like a child, right? We have a whole bunch of people in the range from 25 to 40 never been spanked, and that's a problem. The sheriff will tell you all about it. Sheriff, give a speech on why we should spank once in a while. So, question, yes, sir.
Yeah, how has the government, been able to do all this? Because, especially with the vaccine and everything, because, I mean, 2 years ago, you couldn't tell if somebody had a disease that was gonna kill other people because of HIPAA laws. So how are they doing, I mean, it's like the HIPAA laws all of a sudden don't exist anymore.
Roger that. So specifically the state of Florida, the governor mandated that no state or local government can mandate the vaccine. And then furthermore, no business, due to HIPAA, can ask whether or not you've had the shot. So we have HIPAA laws that should protect every one of us in this room. But again, because we didn't have the courage in the state of Tennessee to do the right thing, you're no longer protected.
See, that's what scares us. I mean, we've got these governors who, when you say, didn't do the right thing, why can't, you know, you can give somebody all the time in the world, but if we don't have people, who are willing to make people do what the law says, no matter what we come up with, it doesn't mean anything.
Well, so I think in Tennessee, what you see is we have a supermajority in the state house, state senate. And it's easy, you know, when you're sleeping in a fortress and you feel like you're guarded and protected to go to sleep at night and not worry about it. And I think what's happened over these last few years is because we have this supermajority, we just assume they're doing their job. What COVID has shown us, what critical race theory has shown us, what transgender dysphoria, mental illness has shown us, is that not all of them are doing their job. I think there's the potential, and this is just me speculating, that if enough conservatives pull petitions, especially for state house, this could be a wave election in the General Assembly. I don't know. That means you guys have to be engaged. Now, your state rep may have done a fine job. You need to investigate that. You need to hold them accountable. And so I'm not here advocating you to run against anybody, but what I'm saying is there are some people that I'm guessing will get a challenger, and I think you're going to see a wave because people are frustrated and they're angry. They might be angry over COVID. They might be angry over Trump. And they just may be angry because we got a moron in the White House. I don't know. But they're angry. And I think the first opportunity we're going to have to really voice and be heard and be counted is this next election.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
And it primarily deals with our General Assembly and our governor. I've asked several politicians this question, and I've never got what I consider a legitimate answer. And it deals with statues, and I'm not just talking about...
Buckle up. Here we go.
I'm not talking about Civil War statues in general. I'm talking about a statue of a man that's buried in Rose Hill Cemetery, that there's a boulevard in Columbia that's named after him, and that state troopers stood up on the top of our Tennessee State Capitol grounds and watched them tear down a statue of Edward Ward Carmack that never owned one single slave.
Right.
Now, why did those state troopers stand there and watch that? Is there a law against that?
Well, of course, Sheriff. You know, destruction of public property. So you're going back to when the Capitol was seized. And, you know, it's kind of like me saying, hey, I'm going to do a daily update. Once you say it, you better do your darndest to stick to it. And where the governor got in trouble was he said he would not allow them to seize the Capitol grounds. It would not allow them to stay the night. They seized the Capitol grounds and they spent the night. They destroyed public property. One of my state troopers out of Murray County was fired. Since that time, you've had Admiral Farragut and Gleaves and Nathan Bedford Forrest bus removed from the Capitol. Keep in mind, the governor campaigned on the fact that you can't erase history. We just need to put it in its proper context. And then, because there was a little bit of pressure, turns around and takes the bust out of the Capitol. And so this gets back to, yes, there are state laws. Yes, a bunch of knuckleheads should have gone to jail. But someone gave the order for them to stand down. I don't know who that was.
The mayor did that. No, this was state capitol grounds.
State
That-
cap-
the mayor.
Hold on.
The mayor of Nashville is the one that said
Right.
that stand down at the courthouse.
Right, so state property, state troopers, the answer to the commissioner of safety, who answers to the governor. That's the difference. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm more interested in the local, and, with your great county and this great county here, I'm looking to the future, wondering about, growth in this area. And, I'd like to just hear you speak a little bit about, what you're seeing as far as how you see us managing this growth properly. I know that we're already way behind, but, what are some of the things that, we can look forward to, because growth is coming whether we want it or not.
Yeah, so the question was about growth and, smart growth or managed growth. Yeah, growth is coming, again, to your point, whether we want to or not. I think part of that, there's some economic factors, so I'm an economist by training. When you look at the property tax increase out of Davidson County, Nashville, you look at the price points in Williamson County, some of the congestion in the 24 corridor, that's really pushing a lot of people south into Murray, Marshall, Lawrence County, and to a lesser extent into maybe Dixon. So what we're seeing is, I've got a lot of friends who are real estate agents. Houses are, they'll send out an email, hey, I have a listing that's going live on Friday. They'll have an open house, and they just happened 2 weekends ago. An open house Saturday morning. All offers have to be in by COB Sunday, and they'll pick the winner on Monday morning. And it went above asking price.
How many new houses are y'all supposed to have in Columbia over the next year?
I don't have a count on that.
It's not, well, I would say that the planning commission of Columbia is, I think they approved 5,000 new houses at some level.
Yeah, so that's your master plan, but that's not new homes being built next year. So yeah, but so what that does is that affects your master plan. And so from a county perspective, one of the challenges we have, so like in Murray County, we're one of the fastest growing counties in the state of Tennessee, is all of your growth, that infrastructure, we have to front load it. So a rooftop, and these are kind of national averages, but $1 of revenue from a rooftop, a new home, $1's worth, costs the county about $1.32. So you actually lose money as a county because you're putting in the water lines, you're building the roads, you're building the schools. And so if you're building an elementary school with a price tag of $30 to $40 million, that's amortized over 20 years. And so it takes a number of years before you're caught up, because keep in mind, those 5,000 homes aren't built in 1 year. They're built out over time, but you have to build the infrastructure to support it on the front end. So you may not hit 5,000 homes that actually supports that banknote for 7 years. So that first 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, depends on the specifics, et cetera, et cetera. And so it's really tough. That's why I've been really focused on economic development in Murray County, being an advocate for my businesses, being an advocate for, we have several industrial properties, business parks, and working on filling those up. And we've become a destination, Murray County has, so we're number one in job growth for the state of Tennessee. We just landed the largest deal in state history with the Ultium battery plant at $2.3 billion. And then we just negotiated the third largest, I say we, I and the commissioner, the third largest deal in state history with the expansion of General Motors in Murray County. And what that does, and the significance of that for our southern Middle Tennessee region, is our ability to produce batteries for electric cars. That plant will have the capability, total capacity of all of the other battery plants that are currently in production in North America.
Wow.
And so that puts Murray County at the center of EV, electric vehicle technology, going forward.
We have one last question, Mr. Trinkle.
Thanks again for all you're doing over there in Murray County. You said something very important to a lot of them about the power of the lower magistrate. Our local officials here really have more power to do things than really fighting with our state officials. But would you speak a little bit to our laws as far as the Tennessee Constitution and or the U.S. Constitution as far as the authority of our local sheriff? I'm glad Sheriff Landon's here tonight. He's already what if state or federal officials or authorities were to come down here and start, you can throw it out there, do a gun roundup or a vaccine passport check, or you just name it. But could you speak to that a little bit about the power of our local officials and our local sheriff to stand up against something like that?
Well, I mean, I think the greatest example of that is during COVID, and you can specifically look at Murray County where you had your county mayor said no, the sheriff said no, and the district attorney said no. And I can tell you that when it comes to guns and Second Amendment, I would say no, the sheriff would say no, and the district attorney would say no, right? And so it's incumbent upon your local leaders to be respectful but bold. So for example, there was a program that was proposed by Penny Schwinn. Anybody know who Penny Schwinn is?
Yeah.
Commissioner of Education. It was a well-being program. And it created a new position called well-being liaisons. And I mean, I'm all about, I've got 3 kids. Oldest is 14, youngest is 5, turning 6 tonight. Way to go, Dad. And, so I have kids. Well, this plan, it's a 32-page document, PDF. They pulled it, by the way. Every child in the state of Tennessee, 0 to 18, unless they've graduated high school, would be interviewed, every child, 0 to 18, would be interviewed by a well-being liaison without their parents present. That was just proposed under this governor by Penny Schwinn. So sometimes be in the right place at the right time. I just so happened to be up at the Capitol. There was a conservative legislator that knew I was in the building, and I'm standing in the hall talking, and they come running down the hall. Mayor Ogles, I want to show you something. And they hand me this document, and their thumb's covering the top corner like this, you know, and it's highlighted so you can see, and I'm thinking, man, Seattle, Oregon, you know, California, I mean, they have lost their minds. I said, where is this? And they moved their thumb, it says state of Tennessee. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And they said, you know, would you be willing to say something? And I said, hold my beer. You know, here we go. And I said, so I held a press conference, and I said, I will not comply. I will not comply as a mayor. I will not comply as a father. And if the governor and the attorney general have a problem with it, I'll meet them on the steps of the courthouse, and I can be the first person that they arrest. Because I will not stand for it in Murray County. Lots of other legislators and county mayors and even city mayors stood up and said the same thing. And within about 42 hours, they pulled it. So that's the significance and the power of your local legislators or your local elected officials and why you have to be engaged. One, you need to hold me accountable. Like if I do something that's boneheaded, you need to tell me. You also need to support me, support your mayor, support your sheriff. I mean, he's under attack, right? And by the way, if I had read the fine print, I always read the fine print. Under the job description for county mayor, that pandemics and race riots were part of the job description, I don't know that I would have done it. But, well, oh yes. So as county mayor, I am the custodian for any indigent bodies. So I literally have 3 in my closet. So I have skeletons in the closet. So if the paper reports it, it's true. They've been cremated, and then your mouth is dropping over. Usually over time, by the way, the family does come and claim them, and they simply pay for the cost of cremation, and we release the body to the family, because I have no desire. But this is one of those things in state law that, like, I'm the custodian, but I don't have legal rights to determine the fate of this body, so I can't bury it. By the way, I can take, it's funny, I can take it out to sea. So I'm wondering if the county commission would let me charter a cruise to go out to sea. I've got
to bury it.
Right? I'm just following state law. But again, yes, sir.
Have you set a date to kick off your campaign for governor?
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I'm curious, how many people would like a more conservative governor? All right, well, hey, look, it's been good. I appreciate the question. I've got to get to Mule Fest. I've been speaking across the state, so in the last 2 weeks I've been in Knoxville and Lenoir City, Murfreesboro, Nashville, Giles County, here tonight, making the rounds, meeting people, and we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, regardless of that, 24 is important, but 22 is really important in the state of Tennessee. This, and I'm a nerd. I'm just a big nerd, right? I really am. That's fine, But this precedent that we've set in the state of Tennessee, it has to be undone. And shame on the legislature, the Speaker of the House, and the Lieutenant Governor for not having the courage to do something about it. This has to be fixed. Otherwise, we've set a precedent in 20, 30, 40. I mean, imagine if Mayor Cooper was governor. Do you think he's going to protect your gun rights? Right? Do you think he's going to care whether or not you want or do or don't want to take a vaccine? I mean, this is the precedent we've set. So you get a little commandant who becomes governor and suddenly he thinks that he's president of the world and he's telling you what to do. This precedent has to be unraveled, and it's going to only happen if you and I put pressure on the General Assembly to be bold in the way that some say I've been bold, but quite frankly, all I did was follow state law. Thank you.
Andy, if I can impose on you for just another minute, that was fantastic. Will you draw our winner out tonight for our door prize?
Nancy Coker.
Oh, well, congratulations. Here we go. Enjoy. Andy, thank you so much for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. I know that I was actually at a lunch, I guess some weeks ago now, in near Nashville, in Brentwood, and we had the majority speaker, the majority leader of the Senate, and the majority leader of the House, and they spoke. And of course, they were supportive of Governor Lee, but they also pointed out that they were concerned about the way things were done. They weren't criticizing what he had done, but the way things were done, because if we indeed, as Andy suggested, if we had a different governor with the same powers, which some people like the way that Governor Lee did, some people think he went too far, but it's not the point of exactly what he did, but how he did it through the powers, which I think Mayor Ogles was speaking of tonight, that if we had a Democrat governor, it could, with those same assumed powers, it could have been much different. We read about the people in Michigan and other states in the way that they're being treated and so forth. Well, so thank you so much for being here tonight, Andy. We really appreciate it. And as he mentioned, we do have a reporter in the House from the Tennessean, Miss Natalie Allison. And so we appreciate all of our speakers this evening. And I want to say a thank you. Many of you know Hy. He's my tech. I tell him I say he's my IT, or he's my tech department. My husband often helps me, but he also helps me do a lot of things, such as set up the tables and I don't know what all. But he's just always there to help me with all the things I'm doing, and sometimes just to take care of our son as I go off to a meeting or a conference or the SEC meeting and so forth. So I really appreciate him being here. So to take care of a few details to wrap up the evening, we do have the giant President Trump birthday card here. Make sure you sign it before you go. We will be mailing it to him. We have a special box, and it's a lot of fun, and it's personalized from the Marshall County Republican Party to him for his birthday. And we also have memberships. Our memberships for the Marshall County Republicans is $10 a year. That money stays in county unless specifically voted to go elsewhere. It's not. We've had our RNC member, one of our RNC members, Beth Campbell, speak. Our SEC members, and we've talked about how the state works and how we are interrelated with the Tennessee GOP and the RNC, but we are also our own separate organization. So it's a little overlapping, a little but it's not completely interchangeable. We are our own independent organization. So the $10 membership just goes to help support things such as our building rental, etc. And so that's $10. We also have registration just for meeting attendance for the records and our new hats and T-shirts. And do I have any announcements that I have missed? All right, then to wrap it up, we have the cards again on the foyer table. This is for next month's meeting. The only thing not on it is that we will have our essay winners, our scholarship recipients, reading their essay and receiving their scholarships. So we have, they also has the date and the time and the place. You can take one home, put on your fridge so you don't forget, and take a few to invite others who you think are interested in hearing our speakers and supporting the local Republican Party. And then the ones that we don't use, then we flip over and send out as postcards to newly registered members and newly registered voters. Next month, the door prize will not be a door prize. Whoever brings a guest, someone who is not, gets to put their name in the hat. And if you bring 2 guests, put 2 names in the bucket, and we will have an American flag as our drawing prize for that. So next month is Bring a Guest month, and we also have the other pictures out there for the coming meetings, so you can see what we have on our schedule. In July, we'll have Senator Mark Pody and Representative Griffey, as well as another Murray County activist, Lana Hines, and she'll be talking about being involved in how to make a difference. In August, the Connor McDonald, Secretary of the Tennessee Young Republicans, will speak about developing a young Republican group in our county. And Joseph Williams from the Office of Governor Lee, he's the Director of External Affairs, he will speak to us. In October, Robbie Starbuck, candidate for Tennessee 5th Congressional District to flip Cooper's seat to red, and Trevor Loudon, who's an author, filmmaker, and commentator. And one of the things he speaks to the most is illegal immigration and immigration issues. That's an important issue, I think, to most of us, including us. We're a legal immigration family, legal immigrant family, I should say, and so that's an important issue to us. So I think that I have remembered all of my announcements. I want to thank you all for being here, and the meeting is officially adjourned, and we will see you in June.